Okay, this is the fourth ad hoc meeting of the Northwest San Pedro Harbor Area Rec and Park Town Hall Planning Meeting. This is an ad hoc planning meeting. This is to plan the town hall. It is not for so much, to have a huge public presence here or anything like that, although the public can come and listen. This is more for the ad hoc committee to plan this town hall, which we will welcome abundance of public comment at the town hall when we have it. This is just to plan everything, to decide how we're going to do the town hall, who we're going to invite, etc. Some of the ground rules, and yes, we did invite the other neighborhood councils. Only one council representative showed up from Coastal. The other neighborhood councils, we asked for a representative to come from them, and I've sent 2 emails and no response from any of them. So you can only do so much. So the ground rules are as such. Welcome and introductions. I'm Melanie. I am the chair of the committee. We have John here, Angela Sumner, Kelly Miller, and Chris. There's no Dan Dixon tonight because he is excused, and Chris Vallier, I'm not sure where he's at. I haven't heard from him. So going forward here, we're just going to keep our comments, if I can talk, comments concise and on subject, respect others and act professionally, listen carefully to others, and commitment by all the appointed ad hoc committee and agree to complete tasks. Also, one thing I'm going to add is we need to stick to the agenda and no skipping to items at the end of the agenda. When we're on another item at the start of the agenda, we'll stay on the agenda and try and get through it and be done on time. So tonight, what I had said we were going to do is start developing questions that are going to be asked of the city officials. And as I stated before, these questions kind of will come as we meet. So I don't know where everybody's at with their meetings. Since John, you're the only one here from the other group. What have you come up with as far as anything yet? Or
no, we're still working.
I told you once we get an appointment with Joe, I'll add you to the Zoom. That you can have some questions for him for the park rangers, because that seems like the easiest thing to do is just include all of us on that, us 3.
Yeah, but there's things I want to ask Joe too. I wanted to go in.
No, I'm saying you'll get to ask your questions there too.
Yeah, okay.
For your subject.
Because I was still going to email him and talk to him and ask him, so I don't bombard him everything on Friday.
No, that's fine. We'll just ask him for an hour of his time and hopefully he can give us an hour.
Yeah, okay.
So we don't have a whole slew of questions for him, really.
So, yeah, and it's not like I want to know, like I told Dan's still working on some stuff with the budget he's looking up. And I don't know what Chris is doing, but I mean, like for us, since I took over Joe's spot, I said I'd handle that. I'm going to ask him a few, things about, I know there's 30 rangers and so many parks, how can we utilize you guys more? And how can we get more people so that the parks have better coverage, things like that.
Right.
I want to make it like Ray said, just make it where they're friends, let's make it that we're here to help them and everything. So
we did find out some things today from Deanne. We had a meeting with Deanne today. And one of the things that she said was that they now have permanently park rangers at Harbor Ken Mallory Park, but they're there, she said, Monday through Friday, 10 to 6.
Mm-hmm.
And also security services. They have 2 security service people that are 7 days a week. On weekends, they have them. And there's 2 numbers that you can call. She said, though, that it all comes down to budget, that there's allocated for 30, but there's only 20 rangers for 430 parks. They said they have a very bad retention problem.
Well, Ken Mallory, is that the one that's right here on Normandy?
Yeah,
The big one with got
yeah.
the lake in it and all that?
Malloy.
Kim Malloy. Yeah.
Ken Malloy. Okay, yeah, I was gonna say it's Ken Malloy. Well, if they, so then they only have 20 rangers. It's even worse than
That's
before.
even worse than we thought. Exactly.
But the funding is the barrier. So we need
Well,
to
see-
really talk about how high we want to shoot as far as getting people involved in this process and to see what we can do. Because I think that I got the impression from Deanne that she agrees it would be much better if there were more people, more security officers, more park rangers. But where does that funding come from? And how do we start the ball rolling on a conversation that could lead to that?
That's why I said the other day that I think our illustrious mayor ought to be in there.
Well, we could invite the mayor's office. I'm still.
Would it be
sending out
mayor or
invites,
city,
so-
or well, council's already coming?
No, I say we
about-
have the mayor because he's still gonna be here. They don't switch over till January.
See, and you know what we can do at the end? We can write at the end, I can read something from the committee at our recommendations. And some of these things can be in there for the recommendations that the city needs to seriously look at the budget and allocate for more park rangers. They, you know, in all of our recommendations, they need more enforcement for these permits. They need to enforce them more. They
Yeah.
need to, you know, all the things that we come up with, we need to like tell them at the end, reinforce what we've come up with as a committee at the end at the town hall to say, these are the things that we're recommending.
The other thing is we could even get Tim McCostner to be inside this.
We
You know,
can't.
not,
We
yes,
can't.
no, yes, you can. You can invite him
No,
as
he
a
will-
stakeholder.
no, but he will not be on the panel. He has to be an attendee.
No. I'm not talking about, I'm talking about our ad hoc committee. He can come in as a stakeholder.
Oh, he can come and visit. He knows it's out there.
I
He
know,
knows
but-
what's going on. He
See, I'm
knows.
gonna invite Tim over to the issues committee and talk about the sidewalks and tree, you know, all the street, you know, that are,
Right.
you know, but I can invite him as a stakeholder and he could answer questions.
Right.
As
But
a
you've got to
C.
make sure that you aren't showing impartiality as a neighborhood council. And
For
that's
the candidate.
Right, of course, yeah.
because,
But you can, you know, that's why I say you can get him.
right. As a
Before I
stakeholder-
forget, sorry, because we're kind of going on a tangent.
Yeah,
Joe cannot meet on Friday.
right.
So we had
So-
originally set it up for Thursday before I realized you had a conflict. And he's not able to meet on Friday. So we're kind of back to trying to plan.
Okay.
His Thursday afternoon was, hold on, let me pull up the email.
Yeah, it's Thursday. So Ted's at his colonoscopy.
Girl,
And-
this is being recorded. Leave your husband.
Yeah. Poor thing. And he's gonna be there until like.
Now everybody knows he's going.
Actually,
So
wait,
what
we should
worked?
be promoting.
I'll probably be home by about 1 with him, as long as. Yeah, we're gonna put the video online.
Good. Everybody get cancer screened.
So I'll be home probably by 1.
Okay, let me see what he said, because I won't get home till like 4. Hold on. Joe Sorelli.
And if we did 4 to 5 or so, or 4:30 to 5:30, I just have to jump to the next meeting. I think. Wait, no, Thursday is 5 o'clock. I have my next meeting.
Well, Wednesday is CPAP. Thursday, I mean.
I know. And I
Are you
have to do all I have to do EVG at 5 and then jump over to CPAB at 6. And then so
Yeah,
I'm gonna be
thinking
crazy.
I might go there.
Okay, I can't find the most recent email. I wonder if I deleted it. Okay, move on. I will get back to
Okay.
you on
Alrighty.
setting up the meeting with the LA Park Rangers.
So let me, I have to stop this to share the Word document. This is just kind of a pain to do this back and forth stuff, but it is what it is.
Chris texted me. He got called in last minute to work.
Okay. So one of the things that I thought maybe we would go over tonight too is this. So initially when we do the, this is like instructions. We're going to go over each thing with you guys. Then I'm going to have a, these are the instructions of how welcoming everybody, you know, about pressing 9, etc. during the meeting. The public will have the opportunity to provide comments on the item under consideration. If you want to make public comment, you're attending by computer, click the raise hand, and the moderator will call you in to comment, first come, first served basis as time allows. For public comment, when the member of the public turns to speak, the moderator will announce either the last 4 digits of telephone number or state the person's name. The moderator will unmute the speaker and ask them to state their name and record. When the time is expired, the moderator will mute the speaker and advise their time and comment is concluded. If you have a general comment on an item that's listed in the agenda, you may provide your comment during the general public comments portion of the meeting. General public comment is limited to 1 minute maximum.
Okay, looks good.
So that's the directions for everybody. Then what we'll do is then I will, that's before we start the thing, that will be part of the ground rules type portion for the public. I'm gonna have to, I still have to write like with the mission statement included that we developed and write like a welcome. And what I'm gonna say is how we got here,
Okay.
how we got to this meeting and what is the purpose of it.
Can I ask a quick question? Is this based on the last big town hall that you did?
Which one?
The one after Point Furman.
Well, oh, is this right here?
Yeah. I'm
Kind
just
of,
asking
sorta.
because I thought everything at that meeting sounded really professional and really good.
Yeah.
And you kind of use it as a model, I think.
And used it as a model, yes. And
Okay.
so
I
like
think that's a good way to go.
so what happened is this is what we read, and it was Ray that read this last
Got it.
time, something similar to this,
Okay.
because he was the moderator, kind of facilitator last time. So what's going to happen is the person though that actually is going to be muting and unmuting is Vic, so that I don't have to focus on that. I can focus on the meeting.
Yeah, I think that's a good choice too.
Because there's going to be 2 moving parts, and he can constantly be watching whose hand was up first, marking it down, keeping a list, and then unmuting them as he saw the hand was up. Because if we're only limiting a minute a piece so that everybody can get a chance to talk, it is going to be like boom, 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 you know, one right after another.
Right.
So yeah.
That's good. As many constituents can be heard or stakeholders can be heard as possible.
Exactly. And they'll get a chance after each agenda item too.
Right. And then at the end again, yeah, the general
Right.
question at the end. Good.
So let me go back to the next one. So this is where we're going to start doing the questions and developing them of
Mhm.
what we want to send them to prepare them for the meeting.
Right.
Like we told Deanne today, we'll be sending you what we want you to talk about,
Mhm.
you know, and some questions to answer and then
Audience.
that way we'll see what they do come up with, that they answer everything. And that's where whoever your point person is, John, that you guys have speak for you guys, or even a couple of you, to be recognizing what they're answering for the things that you guys did. And then say, after they're done talking, then you can redirect them and say, well, you know, in our meetings, we discussed, you know, this and this, how you could do this. Can you elaborate more on that?
Mhm.
You know, in case they, you know, if they miss it. And if they covered everything, then you just say, we're all good and move on, and we'll go on to public comment on that agenda.
Right. But I'm sure we'll have some questions. I'm sure I mean, they'll probably 80% they'll hit maybe, but I
Right.
still think, and Dan and I were thinking that they're still gonna have, they're not gonna fully tell us everything. We've already,
Oh, that's right.
you guys have to really set mind into that you know they're not gonna tell us everything, and they'll tell us what they want us to hear. And I just, because we know this whole thing boils around the dollar sign.
Yeah.
And
Right.
that's the whole, we could sit here and tell them, well, how come you don't got parkland? We should just sit there and go, how can we help you to get some freaking money?
Yeah.
Because that's the bottom line. How can you get $10 million? How can you get this? How do we go to Garcetti and say, hey, bud, you have a problem, 20 Rangers for 430 parts. I'm sorry. Can you visualize all these parts and each one of them have shootings or something that's going on? Who's covering it? Now you're going to pay LAPD
And none of them,
sheriffs and fire department, just like the one we had here, because that cost us a bundle of money to
Yeah.
have all those people there.
So there's one I come up
Ambulances,
for
you know.
and
LAPD.
none of our rangers have any power anyway. What are their jobs? They can't even function as protective officers,
Yes, they can.
but they're not armed.
They aren't.
That's the
armed
only
yet.
thing. They
They're
got
trying- we
pepper
supported
spray
them
and
to be armed, but they
Yeah.
have pepper spray. They can act. They go to this the CHP Academy just like the police does.
yeah,
I
they
know,
do
I
the
think it
same
deserves
They
six,
service.
go to the same training as police do.
you know.
Well, wait, I mean, whether or not the Rangers are armed, I mean, if there's a crime happening, the police are going to come.
Right.
I don't know that
Right.
necessarily we need to be like promoting more guns in the park. We just
Exactly.
want large parties to have the appropriate amount of security who can respond in case of an emergency.
Exactly.
If there's a shooting, obviously you're going to call 911 and the police are
Well,
all going to come.
and-
We want to
and-
prevent to getting to that point.
Right, and that's where Rangers have, you know, walkie-talkies and everything. They should have direct lines to LAPD to say, hey, I'm a park ranger, such and such. We're here at Griffith Park, and I've got a shooting and occurring right now. I need police backup, you know.
Right. But what we're focusing on is like, how do we avoid getting a party of 500 people that doesn't have any staff to supervise?
Right,
You know?
that's the thing. Well, and you know what? Here's the deal. Between Peck Park and I think there shouldn't be 3-4 big parties going on. That's just way too many people. And when
Mhm.
you go to the permit and you say on the permit, I'm going to have 30 people. Okay, that's it. And then, like you said, somebody should be, whether it's a designated person from the permit office or even the Rangers, give them what there is. Send them the paperwork and say, hey, these are the parties that are at Peck Park today. Make sure they're permitted right, and they only have 30 people. So if the ranger goes there and says, hey man, you got over 60 people here, So either you shut down or 30 of them have to go home. Then of course, maybe, no,
I'm
they,
sorry, I'm sorry, a lot of the problem is these people do not have permits. Just like the Proud Boys did not have their permit. This car show did not have a permit. So you end up with this flex of,
The
you know,
baseball field had a permit.
the baseball field did, but the car show didn't. So if they had been forced to have permits, or if they had been asked to leave because they didn't have permits, then maybe it would have been a little bit better of a situation. But why are they not enforcing having permits or not? That's what I'm upset about.
Money.
Proud Boys,
Don't
we're
have
lucky that
somebody,
didn't happen.
Kelly, they don't have anybody to enforce it. Again, it comes down to money is what she said today.
yeah, the bottom line is
Right.
that. The bottom line is the dollar.
They have to
There
hire
are all
people
these
to do
funds
it.
and money out there,
Well,
but they're not.
And then they've got to be able to have teeth to enforce it. If they aren't a cop, they don't have the teeth to enforce it because,
Yep.
and what, she's gonna go out there with a couple of her employees and what, get the snot beat out of her? That's the
No, I-
problem.
yeah, that's, so we know what the problem is. So so we really need to work on the solutions that we can offer to help with. Find out, did we find out about the grant that we didn't get for Peck Park?
She told me that there's special funding and all that, and that Peck Park is set up under a different funding pattern. And that they're trying to pull them back out of it. But it takes a lot. There's a whole function of funding with rec and parks that is, and even policy to change any type of makeup or permit process or anything like that. It goes through this whole like cyclone of stuff. First, the 5 people that are in her office that make up all the staff in the regional office have to agree on the change, the policy change, the permit change, whatever it is of any park. Then they have to set up a whole like plan. Then that plan is submitted to the general manager, who is Jimmy Chu. Jimmy Chu then evaluates the plan and sends it to the task force for the park commission or the park commission. The park commission reviews it and they meet once a month. And you have to submit it 3 weeks before that meeting. Then from the park commission, it goes, or task force, it goes to the park commission. Then it's finalized, hopefully by the time it reaches the park commission. So it's a bureaucrat. It's a huge bureaucrat spin.
Well, the bottom line, again, like we said, the bottom line is this. If they pulled $150 million from the police force, okay, there is no way that, and the way, the permit offices don't have money, these don't have money, rangers don't have money. And the bottom line to everything that belongs to the park is they go and look at all of this stuff and they vote on it. But the bottom line comes back and says, well, we don't have the money right now to put this here, to put more people, because I guarantee that's what answers we're going to get. And until somebody in LA, our office, our city office, okay, that they say, look, we've been having a lot of problems. We're having this and that, they're starting to get more and more shootings at parks. We have more and more councils, but the problem is maybe we're doing this.
See, the thing
But
is,
no other
council-
out of 99 cities that don't have mayors that we belong to Garcetti,
yeah,
we might be 3 or 4 doing this. And that's the problem, is there's not enough. And there's not, if we do it, everybody has to stand up and do this too.
right. Celia's
You know.
got her hand up. Let's see what she has to say. Allow to talk. There you go. Okay, Celia, go.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Good evening, everybody. Sorry I missed last week. I had to hear somebody really badmouth this meeting at the agenda setting meeting the other night for Coastal to realize something was dreadfully wrong for someone to badmouth this ad hoc meeting with really incorrect facts.
I couldn't
And
only guess who that was.
yeah, well, let the unnamed remain unnamed, because we all know that there's a
Yes.
rabble rouser everywhere. But
Exactly.
I was personally insulted for the Northwest group and all the good that they aspire to accomplish because of somebody who lacks imagination and depth. And so I recall, and perhaps I'm wrong, but I recall that the sheriff had showed up also at the park
They
in
did.
video. If I'm right, please won't you consider extending an invitation for the sheriff's
Yeah, we've
department to
got a
come
whole
too?
list of invites that have gone out. The sheriff is getting invited. The park rangers, everybody's, all kinds of people are coming.
Oh,
They're
that's
getting invited.
fantastic. I
And
tend
there's
to
a-
We've
think
got a
positive.
whole list. We're gonna invite the CD15 candidates that will be in the attendees.
Oh,
We have a list of
excellent,
special guests too that'll be
excellent.
on the attendee side. But yeah, your certain person that you're talking about wanted to be a bully and also wanted to be basically take over the meeting and rebel rouse it and cause distension where we weren't getting anything done because he would jump from agenda item 3 all the way to agenda item 9 because he wanted to talk about that.
And I get it, but everybody here is an adult. We all have experiences away from this. I never want to show up sounding like a hysterical female who needs more of a hormone patch than I've had in the past. And I'm always shocked at people who are also adultish, who conduct themselves foolishly, I think, at these events, because becoming angry and acting a child is not going to help anything, but it does rile people who don't need to be riled, who don't deserve to be riled or attacked. And
Celia, I'll
I
tell you
come to
what,
these
if you
meetings.
really want to know, these meetings are recorded. You can
Yeah.
find out for yourself because the last meeting is online on YouTube and you can go see it for yourself.
Oh, I believe you. When I was at some years ago, we had a slate of people who made it into coastal as part of the board, and they became discontented because they were trying to get through. They came in on a slate of getting things done.
Oh,
And
I know who you're talking about. I know.
yeah, well, there was a handful of people who made a big show for a couple of meetings because they were all in person at the time, and I was going, and so we finally had a showdown, so to speak, and these people were unhappy because this is a chess game, not a checker game, and things take time to happen. Nobody likes it, but that's what the process is. And so a handful of people get up, they stand up, they all make a different excuse why I have to get up and leave, and they got up and left. One more person would have canceled the meeting. They wouldn't have had a quorum, and it was horrifying to see.
Oh my goodness.
Almost half of the board got up and left, and all they've done is the people who kept in touch is when they do show up is to badmouth some more aggressively than others. And it's really tragic because, somebody put it before, it's a smoke and mirrors thing, depending on who you are. But if you want to stay the course and you stay with it, and you remind me every once in a while that you're paying attention to the timeline of when something was introduced versus how's it going and when can we expect to get it done. It does take time. Most of the time, sometimes it takes a year. Sometimes it takes several months. Sometimes it takes 2 years. But it happens. You got to stay with it. And so I was horrified, and I came because, I've been to company meetings, they're going to gut the company. I've been to contract meetings, they're going to gut the contract. You name it, bullyism and whatnot hasn't gone away. I don't care what you call it. And I just thought, this doesn't sound like the kind of meeting that I've been to with anybody. And why is this person pointing fingers and saying, well, they're picking and choosing who they're inviting to this thing. I don't know what's going on, but North was just trying to run the show, blah, 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 blah. And I was
Well, of course
horrified.
we
I'm
are.
like,
This
wait
is
a
our
minute.
meeting. Of course we're
Yeah,
running
and I'm
the
just like,
show.
wait a minute. I was in the conversation when somebody is trying to get information in it. And at first we were like talking central, and then I pulled up my map. I said, wait, this is a Northwest thing. And you jumped in right after that. I said, this is a Northwest thing, and this is for them. And you jumped right in with it. I'm more than happy to step back and let you guys take care of your business. And if there's anything that the rest of us can put forth to help you, on your mission to help us have safe parks and recreational areas. God bless America. You do it. Here we are. I've told you that
Well,
before.
you
but
guys are
well,
there as stakeholders to tell us what you
yeah,
like to hear about too from the city officials. That's why it's important to have the general public here to put in, like, say, well, are you inviting, like you said, the sheriffs? Yes.
yeah,
Who you would like to hear from, because we're going to get all the city officials here. And then we're meeting with these city officials before the town hall, like we met with Rec and Park today, to get a kind of know what we let them know what we want them to talk about, as well as kind of us get information to kind of poke them to get information out of them, so that we can be informed and empowered during the town hall also, to
yes.
make sure that they're answering everything that we want and have them prepared to answer questions from the public too.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I appreciate listening to your meetings, and thank you for your patience in allowing me to speak. And I felt that what that person was saying was wrong. I was going to let this pass, and then I thought, you know what? This is what I get for not going last week, because I felt I had nothing to offer. The flip side is at least I could have spoken up last night at the agenda setting meeting and audibly said, that is not so. I know exactly what's going on, and this is what I've learned from them. And unfortunately, I didn't have that, but I did have it from the first meeting, that what you have just said was exactly everybody who matters and who will be mattering in the future has been extended the invitation. And it's not your fault if people don't get back to you. I mean, these are, of course, agenda meetings, but the bigger picture is no one's
I've
picking
had
and choosing.
I sent 2 emails to the presidents of the other NCs, as well
Yeah.
in the harbor area, as well as with Central. I sent it to their vice president. So
Well, the horrifying
asked to
finger
each
pointing
send a
and
representative.
defamation. I was horrified. Look, thank you. Thank you. I know this is a limited meeting, and I appreciate that you've allowed me this much time. Please go on, and I don't
No
think I have
problem.
anything else to say. Thank you all for your patience and time.
Thank
You're
you.
Can
welcome.
I add
Thank you
to
for,
that? I
Huh?
just want to say, like, if at any point anybody from anywhere wants to come and contribute, it doesn't matter if they haven't been here from the start. We're always open to input from the other neighborhood
Yeah.
councils, from the community. I mean,
Yeah.
look, the more
Yeah.
that we get people involved in this, it's going to help everybody. We're not doing
Exactly.
this just
For
because we're
us.
Northwest, and we're doing it because of what happened at Peck Park. But
Absolutely.
we
This
want
is
to
for
work with
all
these people.
parts.
We
and I
have
think
to work with them, and all
Please.
the city councils, all 99 of us have to go, and they have to work together, because I know from the valleys to Los Angeles to here, I'm sure they've had their problems. You just don't hear about it all the time. If there was a shooting in Burbank, or if there's something happened, knifed at another park in Thousand Oaks, but wherever they're at, we're here for that. We're here. We're doing something about it now. Come on in and help us. Get heck, the more questions that, like you said, Celia, you've got a bunch of this and that, you can help. That's what we're looking for.
And our
That way
focus
it's
is
not
the
only on
harbor
our
area,
shoulder.
but our focus is the harbor area, but this type of thing could be like formatted to help other areas if they're having problems with their parks, because they have a little bit different rules in the valley, because they aren't some of the areas aren't part of LA City. They have some different rules and stuff. And Kelly found that out, I think, from like areas that are county, LA County, are different rules than what we have in LA City
do, yeah.
itself. So, but the main focus is the harbor area right now because of the Pacific region, which our park regional office oversees, but to focus, and we were trying to be inclusive, and unfortunately that didn't happen. But what we need to do is get back to the agenda. So I wrote out a couple of questions so far. I don't know if I'm on track or what for LAPD, but you guys take a look.
Please, if you would consider putting a / on LAPD / LASD, because since they both appear, they both are active in the
No,
Northwest.
they'll have LA Sheriff's Department will have a separate category to talk.
Very good. Okay, thank you.
Okay,
I'm,
yeah.
I appreciate your patience. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Well, you've got the first question here. What do you do when you call a response at parks?
What do you do when
No
you
one-
call for a response at parks and no one responds?
And that was one of the questions we talked with Deanne about today, and she gave us some backup numbers, yeah?
Yeah, yep. So I want LAPD to
Yeah, for
answer it
sure. Oh, yeah.
to see if
should
they
answer
say the same
question.
thing.
Yeah,
Right.
because
you
she
can
seems,
say- So
No,
you
no, but
can
I'm just-
say, if they say something different, then you can come back to them and say, well,
yeah,
for
let's get,
investigative thing, we found
Let's
out
work-
that this is the direction. Because I have a feeling some of these answers are gonna be different and that Rec and Park and LAPD aren't on the same page.
right. And this is, I'm looking at all of this as an opportunity to how can we promote change? And if one of that is increasing the dialogue between the parks and the police department,
Exactly.
that's a really good thing.
No, no,
why
that's
we're
true.
here doing
No,
the
what
work.
I was saying, what I was saying is instead you could say, what do you do when you get a call for a response at parks
Mhm.
or
Yeah.
just at a
Well,
park
the part
and
of
no
the
one
concern is-
responds? See, there, yeah, what do you do when you get a call for a response
Right.
at parks and no one responds? Then after
Well,
that
no, I
period,
want to know what I'm supposed to do when I call and no one responds.
and you need to change, because you're saying, what do you do when you get a call?
No,
So
what
you
No,
gotta
I know what you're trying to say, but I think this is two separate questions.
when a
First of all,
stakeholder calls
there, that's better. What do you do when a stakeholder
calls
calls for a response?
for
at-
response at parks and no one from LAPD, or what do you suggest
You want to know what the protocol is.
to do?
You want to
I
know what the
would
protocol
start-
is for when a
Right,
stakeholder.
right.
What do
I
you
would start
What
first
is
of all with
protocol?
what do you do when you get a call from the park? And let them first answer that, like, well, if there's a, armed
Okay.
crime, we do
But
this.
like-
If it's a nuisance report, we do
Yeah.
this, like,
Okay,
and
well, then that's like Kelly said. What is the protocol when you get a call from someone or a stakeholder at the park? What is the procedure for that call?
right. And then a separate question. And then what if nobody responds? Because maybe
Yes,
it's not
right,
essential.
right. Let him answer,
So what do
Yeah,
you
and
do when you get a call from a
No,
stakeholder?
no, you gotta say, what is the protocol when you get a call from a stakeholder?
Okay, what
Because see, you're working with them. Remember, you gotta
Protocol and
work
the
with them.
parameters.
is the
what are the
protocol when you get a call
No.
from a stakeholder about a park?
About
Right,
an incident or situation.
About-
about a situation at the park.
About a situation at park?
Yeah,
Yeah, because that could cover everything from a shooting to someone broke down the chain
A
and parked their
knife,
car on the
anything.
lawn.
get rid of that one A, because you got an A after about.
Oops.
There you go. So what is the protocol when you get a call from a stakeholder about a situation at the park? Boom,
Okay.
that's it. So then he answers that question. Then you can go into,
What
well,
if
what do you,
Response.
What do you
What is-
suggest
yeah,
doing when a stakeholder calls for a response at parks and no one from LAPD responds?
Good.
yes.
What is your partnership with Recreation and Park with it?
Yeah, what is your partnership with Recreation and Parks
regarding enforcement?
regarding enforcement?
Okay, what is the
Yeah.
training that LAPD?
You're asking
sees
this
for
of LAPD,
circumstances
okay, I
Like what
see.
happened at Peck Park?
Well,
That's
This is
one
what we're
we
gonna
were gonna
start to-
ask, because that's
yeah,
part of
but
the drill
I
questions.
know, but you don't need the training. I mean, they've all had training, but when
What
you
is
say,
the
what is the
drill? Well,
training?
Chris is going to ask this. This is one of the things Chris is doing is about drills for LAPD, for Rec and Park. this employee.
Everyone has active shooter drills.
You
from
would be
schools to-
surprised how much they do not at Rec and Park, and they don't even have PTSD training, counseling after an incident happens.
Also,
Well,
I still
They
think it's a good
probably
question.
do. They just don't know what it's called. It's not PTSD. I'm
No,
sure.
but I'm just telling you that they don't have anything because the girl was crying at Peck Park because they had not offered her anything.
That's on her company. I'm sure that there is, you know what? My girlfriend works for the chief of police for LAPD. I will ask her what they offer from the city.
Right, but regardless,
And-
we still want them to talk about it at
Want
the
them to
meeting.
talk about
We
it.
want
so.
them to explain to the public,
Right.
how are they prepared for this? We don't want to accuse them of being unprepared.
No,
Nobody's trying
Kelly.
to
No, I'm
call
sure they
anybody
have
out.
active shooter drills. I know that because I've been to active shooter drills, and I know that LAPD does them for parks, for restaurants, movie theaters, any place that they've had or they've
But
experienced.
whether we
active
know it
shooters.
doesn't mean that every stakeholder knows that. Our
Right,
public may
right.
not
So-
know that. We need to cover that.
Right, but
Right.
Kelly, what you can do is ask the question and write it down and hold it. Whatever answer he gives you, and make sure that is the same answer they give you that night.
Initially,
Right.
the person that's going to be asking those questions is going to be Chris. He's in charge of this portion of it. And
Right.
that's why I just put it in there. But what we're going to have to do that night is the people that are the appointed person to discuss those topics will get their shot, but the rest of the panel will not say anything until the public comment for the public is over, and then the panel can say something. We will go last because we've had our opportunity to speak by meeting with these officials and by having these ad hoc meetings. The people in the public have not. And so they will have priority to go first
Right.
over us to ask questions after the person appointed to the panel asks them. You know, like John, if you're doing the budget stuff, you'll ask your questions on that. You'll be the point person for that. But we
Yeah.
need to allow time for the public to comment on each thing, like after LAPD speaks and answers that, and then we like redirect with our people, then it goes to the public. We can't have our panel taken up a lot of the time until the end. And that's just the way we have to do it, because if we're limiting only 1 minute to people to ask questions, the 3 hours is gonna go like this if we have a huge turnout. Any other LAPD, we need Chris actually here to be able to input into this. Unfortunately.
Well, and we'll build on it between the next
the
24 hours
19th
because
we
we're
can put
talking with the
more
captain
in.
tomorrow. Yeah.
Rec and Park, for us, we can insert some of the stuff in there for us for Rec
Oh,
and Park.
I took a picture of my whole list of questions before today's call. Oh, are you waiting for me to say it?
Yeah,
Sorry.
waiting for you. Tell me what to type.
Oh, no, the one I texted you last night and for the meeting we had today.
Oh, no, but we, are those the ones we want to put in, or?
Oh, for the agenda, you mean? The
Yeah.
agenda prompts?
Do we want? So what we need to do, one thing that I think is important is several of these things are good that you've got here. How does the security process vary from park to park? That's a good one.
We have another attendee.
Oh, and then the other one was, how does the permit process vary from park to park? But did she say that was the same? That it's all the
she
same
didn't
permit?
say. We couldn't get her to really, she didn't commit on that, so we probably need to hold her to it.
She said that, I just remember her saying that she felt confident in the permitting process, but that the issue was that only the
Enforcement.
law-abiding, rule-following folks get the permits. So
Yeah.
the issue isn't so much with the permit itself, but with the people who don't apply for and don't get permits.
So how does the permitting process vary from park to park?
Well, I
Oh,
know in
well,
Redondo
we-
and Hermosa and them, if you do not have a permit, they will make you leave. That is
Right.
their policy.
Right,
Who?
but they've got.
Who does
people-
that?
Know that they're
who does it,
smaller,
though?
huh?
Who enforces
they
it?
do
Well,
that?
I believe it's their police department because she told me that it was, what did she tell
Who's
me,
she?
county workers or the person I spoke to from Hermosa, I think is the one that I talked to the most. I have to look at my notes. I don't have my notes with me. I left work in a hurry to go get x-rays, but I'll verify who she said because they asked them to leave. They've also pulled permits because they had people and made people leave. I know that was at Lamita Park. She said that the person I talked to from Parks and Rec from them said that they've made people leave because they had over the amount of people that were on the permit.
Okay, so good. How?
And that was
How did
Lamita
they make
Sheriff.
them
That
leave?
was Lamita Sheriffs that came and removed
Okay.
them.
Because that's what we're trying to get at. I mean,
Right,
That-
Well, they're smaller parks. They don't have, I mean, we literally in San Pedro, we are LA County. I know at Cabrillo, it's literally by the trash can. One side is LA County and one side is LA City.
but they're
and it's
all LA
separated by
City
the-
enforcement. They're all LA City parks. They aren't county parks in San Pedro.
Part of.
The only one
part
that
of
is
Cabrillo-
up by Westmont.
Well,
so
It
and
used to be
but if
Cabrillo.
another city is doing it right, if they're
Yeah.
able to find someone to get to the park and somehow end a party or get
Yeah.
what are they doing right? This is what
Yeah.
we need to know. This is great information.
It is. And today she told us that, oh, well, if like the group of 500 that was in Peck Park, even though they didn't have a permit, who's going to make them leave? You're going to make 500 people, even if one cop car, she said, shows up, they're going to have one cop car go there and make 500 people leave.
Well,
She
that's
goes,
why they didn't make
There'll
the
be an
Proud Boys
all-out
leave.
riot and they'll be beating up the cop or whatever. They won't leave. One cop
Right.
car. And it's gonna,
Right, but
they
there
don't have
again-
the cops to go up there to remove 500 people.
Right.
or
And
one-
there again, if
or
there
the
was a
first-
permit, there wouldn't be 500 people because
Exactly.
there
And
shouldn't
there's
be that
nobody
many. There's
checking
got to
the
be a
store to
limit.
make Sure.
That's another question to ask Park and Rec. What is your limit in person and what is your limit in people at one time at the park if they have a party? What is your limitation of people for one group of people having a party? There is something to that because that has to be.
Okay. There.
And I think, and we started this during the phone meeting or the Zoom meeting today with Deanne, is really asking them like, how can we make this happen? Like, we need answers for what do we need to do? If there's other cities that doing it right, how can we get that to, LA City? How do we make it happen? That's what we need
Right.
to know.
we're so big. That's the problem.
Right.
And
But
if it
if you
takes,
have-
but
I was gonna say, if you have an incident like this is, we have to use this to do some good. This
Right.
is like our chance to do some good.
especially in a park that's one way in and one way out.
Yeah,
That
that's
was
something
such a
else we
dan-
talked about.
That is such a dangerous, predicament.
Mhm.
I want another thing I want to find out about, and I haven't done the research on it, but I know that they're still having heavy duty incidents in Sunken City. How come that's not enforced?
They have a task
They
force in the
still,
city. And
For
it's
that?
just-
I was curious about that.
somebody has their hand up. Celia?
Oh, thank you. Yeah, we used to always get permits for April Park and Peck Park and Alma Park for events. I had relatives all over town,
Mhm.
literally, and we had a big family. And so we'd get these permits. This is something I learned from my older cousins and aunties. Us kids didn't do it so much. We usually had house parties, but uh, even when we had parties ourselves as adults, you get there early because you're allowed to pay for a permit for X amount of space between X hours, right? And so we would do this, and occasionally he would show up to set up our event hours early, because you know what it's like.
Mhm.
And it was very interesting to show up and somebody had beat you to your place, and
But
they
you
might
have a
pull,
permit.
yeah, and we had, not only did we have a copy of our permit, but one of the park personnel would go to the area and they would tack a couple of them on the trees and tape them on
Yeah.
the tables. So if you get there in enough time, you can see people actually walking around and pulling them off and throwing them away, like they weren't there and you're wrong. And so you could wave it at them and they'll like say, we were here first, finders keepers. And so we would call the police. And so between the police and park officials, they would clear them out. And
Mhm.
you know, and I mean, this is the thing that if when every once in a while they have a public shift briefing, a pre-shift briefing at one of the local areas. I've been to a couple of them at Point Furman. It's very interesting to see all the shift officers lined up on both sides, and then there's a sergeant and all the other personnel, and it's quite a bit more people than I ever expected, that everybody who was witnessing expected, to prep the officers for the day. And we can't tell them their job. They know what they've got to do, but because they're all suffering from being defunded, uh, uh, they have to ask for a specific amount of people ahead of time from Metro. So they have that many more officers to help support the community at the different spots. And so what comes to mind is because of these problems that we have in the morning and perhaps early morning and perhaps around lunchtime or after church, so to speak, if we could get a petition, ask for an extra wave of patrol officers to come out and to see that people with permits are being allowed to take their respective spaces, and people who are, we'll say for the sake of conversation, unlawfully gathering because they're going to have a 500-person party, which we've all been a part to. I live out by Coastal, so you know they can help to dissuade this gathering from happening there, because I've seen quite a few interesting things happen out here between the patrol officers and the motor officers. Sometimes it's taken a lot of work because people were resistant to leaving when they've had a permit for 30 and there's, 200, so to speak, and it's loud and it's in the street and not just the park and all that. So there's a thought that we could request if they could have in the mornings for them to come in or stay until lunch, so to speak, and make sure that once you get rid of them, a core doesn't stay back and then it reconvenes all over again, just as they wanted it to anyway, because the parking lot, for instance, is multi-tiered at Peck Park, and these things can get away from people. And if they choose to gather anyway, that's going to happen. But that's, of course, what we all don't want to happen. We want our community to be safe. So there's a thought for you. And as far as Sunken
Yeah,
City is
today,
concerned,
Celia, that was brought up with Deanne. And what
yeah,
she said was that there is no funding. There's only 20 park rangers and there's supposed to be 30. There's
yes,
LAPD is short on LAPD
yes,
officers, and there's not enough cars to go around the whole harbor area. So
right.
they
No,
do
you're
not have
right.
personnel to come and enforce at parks, is what she said.
Well, having gone to plenty of those happy CPAP meetings, as well as being that mom, that lady who was crazy enough to just about jump on top of a cop car hood to get them to stop on Pacific at 39th Street. And don't think I haven't, because I have, to ask
That's
questions.
crazy.
Oh, you know what? I'll do it. If I need
Yeah,
to
I
ask
know.
questions, I'll do it. I'm not afraid. I worked with the fellas. I'm not afraid. But the bigger
No, but I'm
picture is,
just
I
saying it's
just want
crazy
answers.
that we're operating on such skeleton like enforcement for everything
Yeah.
right now. It's
Well,
just a shame.
Well, when the sergeant and your respective SLOs, who all know my name, and I think to a certain degree fear me because I'll ask questions, and I'm not an accuser or anything like that. I just want answers,
Right.
the whys. That's what it is, whys. no retaliation. I just crave information so I could share it so people aren't angry. And people tend to get angry in this Zoom age. There's nothing you could do except tolerate it or mute them. But when they say yes, when we have special events coming, for instance, just big events of all kinds, Music by the Sea, Fleet Week, whatever, downtown fiestas, they do have requests in several weeks ahead of time. It takes 3 weeks. Slow Paul Winter explained that to me many times over the years. If you want something, you need to ask for it 3 weeks ahead of time. And this way they can call people and schedule them. So it's not costing them a bundle on overtime if something bad happens. And so they have just enough people and they could put them where they need them for X amount of time. Hopefully nothing happens. And then they can put them someplace else that's going to be hot later, like in the afternoon. For instance, everybody in the afternoon will be at the beach roasting or whatever. But that's just for instance. And so that's what's interesting about them. They can move them around. And that's why I thought okay, well, yeah, we could get them here at least the first half of the day, depending on who's coming on shift, who's going to be going off shift, who's being brought in extra on shift. Help to try to make sense of this so we have more information to work with them, because pointing fingers gets us nowhere. And somebody had mentioned Sunken City. Well, whenever Officer Shortle, who is our area SLO, and the Rangers, who I regard as my sons when I see them because they recognize me, they usually will throw them out. But if the police do a sweep and they hand out citations, each citation per person before wants and warrants is $450. And they do text each other and let each other know how pricey it is. We don't have half the problem we used to have with people raising Cain at Sunken City this summer that we've had in the past. I'm very grateful to say that. But it happens in waves, and right now it's pretty calm. But all I have to do is walk the dog up the neighborhood and talk to the neighbors out in their gardens or socializing. And so, how's it going over there? And they'll let you know if there's been bonfires or fireworks, whatever. They'll tell you. And in respect, is like, do you call the SLOs? They go, yeah, you can't get through, and they're not wrong. If you can't get through, you can't get through. At the last CPAB meeting, they said they actually brought in 2 dispatchers to explain exhaustively how the dispatch process works. And it went on so long that a lot of people started leaving the meeting and then they'd come back. But it's very interesting to see how we could request things and give them enough dialogue to work with us, flex their brains and see what they can help work out to make it better. Because no one's going to know they're not going to be there. Only we will, or you will, for instance. And so I'm just putting this out there to help with the questioning and all that good stuff. Okay.
We need to move on, Celia. We need to move on because we got to get.
Thank you.
Alrighty, thank you. So LA Fire Department, what is the drill training like? Active shooter, This has got to be changed. LA Fire Department. LAFD. I'm changing it for each department, the same question. So what else will we ask LA Fire Department? Do you think?
Ask them to drive up and squirt some water on the people who won't leave.
Yeah. Sounds good
What
to
would
me.
you think?
Yeah, if it was only that easy. Thank you.
What do you think? For LA Fire Department, what else?
Yeah, I don't really know, because so much of what we've been talking about is more security.
Yeah, I don't think I don't think the fire department has, more than what you're writing, what is the drill training? I don't know if that's
Oh, what about the
all
thing that
this
Ray
drill
brought up,
training.
John? John, what about what Ray brought up about Little Company Mary? When there is an incident, do you notify all of the hospitals of the incident, of who could self-transport as well as transport?
That was one of the questions when we first started this process.
Yeah, because
come up
of the self-drive to Little Company of Mary.
Is that a direction that we want to pursue as part
Well,
of this
Ray
town
was
hall?
concerned about that, how they report when there's an incident to the hospitals, because there are a lot of people that Little Company Mary didn't know were coming and that were
Mhm.
self-driven.
Okay, so then maybe just a question like, is there communication between the LA Fire Department and area hospitals when there is a mass potential injury situation? I don't know, maybe mass is a little dramatic. Whatever term to describe the incident.
Oh, Jesus.
And if it's not the fire department, who would it be?
And I don't know if you
And-
want to put, what is the drill training,
SJ,
like active shooter that, you know, I don't know if that's, I mean, the fire department doesn't have any drills. They just go there. They have people that were shot. They bring the fire, paramedics,
yeah, but they
ambulance.
go through a drill like, they go through a drill training. I've seen it.
Well, I
Fire
understand that, but
department where they have like a situation, shooting situation, and they do a whole triage type thing drill. But I want them to tell them that, you know, we want them to tell the public that what they do.
We're prepared.
We're
Yeah.
prepared.
It's not trying to call anybody out. It's just explain to our stakeholders how you prepare for such an event. I
Yeah,
don't know. Does that sound confrontational? I don't think it does. Or maybe worded in a way that,
area.
well, let's see. What is the drill?
What is the drill training? For instance, an active shooter training.
No, you don't want to put active shooter
Active-
training.
For instance, active shooter training that the LA Fire Department, whoops, hello.
You would say an
Yeah,
example.
LA Fire
active
Department
shoot-
receives for circumstances like what happened at Pet Park. What is a drill training? What, here, let's take that out. What is the drill training that LA receives for circumstances like what happened at Pet Park?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. Are there communications between area hospitals and LA Fire Department
On where to bring the injured,
about
where to
that-
bring the
about
injured.
an incident that has occurred in area? I think that's what Ray was saying. Do they notify them if there was an incident in the area and there might be people showing up? Is what Ray had said.
Well, I would say incident that has occurred in the area, not in area.
Whoops.
Are there communications between area?
Awesome.
I would know if you'd say area hospitals. That just doesn't sound right. Are there communication between local hospitals?
Okay, local hospitals, that's fine.
Yeah,
I would put LA Fire Department before hospitals because
Okay. Alrighty, that's true.
yeah. So what you would do, are there communications between local LA Fire Department and hospitals in the area? Instead of local, now you could say, are there communications between local fire department and hospitals that are in the area?
In
That are in the area.
the, oops, hello. About an incident that it has occurred in the area.
No, okay. Where it said between local fire department and hospitals that are in the area. After hospitals that are in
The area about an
the
incident
area.
that has occurred. Okay,
In other words, do they send them all to, you know, which, well, that's
Yeah,
after and that, to see
Harbor
what
or
they say.
wherever.
Harbor General, do they go to, you know, Kaiser, do they go to
Right, right.
Pedro, you know, because a lot of the people might say, well, I don't have, I have Kaiser for insurance, so they're gonna have to send them to Kaiser.
So the next one is.
You would go to a trauma hospital. San Pedro, like Little Company of Mary's not a trauma hospital. They would take
Right,
them to Harbor UCLA.
yeah,
They won't take you to Kaiser if you're a Kaiser member. Because I know when my son was bleeding, when my son was having the bleed, he had a lower GI bleed thing, they would not take him to Kaiser. They put him in the car and got me to drive him to Kaiser so he could go to Kaiser.
Yeah, because Kaiser's not a
Because-
trauma hospital.
Right.
yeah.
Well, neither is
Harbor
The
Little
General,
Company of Mary.
Harbor General is, they won't
Yeah,
go.
Harbor
I wouldn't take
UCLA.
my dog, sorry.
Florence Memorial.
I'd rather go to
Memorial.
Torrance or for trauma,
UCLA is the only trauma center in this area.
huh?
Oh, Long Beach has the Miller one for children too.
And
That's a trauma
I
center for children.
and I believe Torrance Memorial, where my wife works, they have one too.
They have one now since Cedars took
Is
over.
it because they have airlifts?
Yeah,
Yeah, because
Yeah,
Cedars
because-
took over Torrance Memorial.
yeah. Right on Airport Drive, they have a helicopter pad right across from the hospital.
If I might interject,
That's good to know.
when they pick up people from the cliffs out here, and when they have emergencies around the city here, especially the cliffs, so this was interesting to learn. They pick them up and they drop them, they secure an area at the Korean Bell, and then they put them in ambulances there and they take them to Harbor
Harbor General.
UCLA in Carson. So
Carson?
if people are, no matter what your
Oh, yeah,
insurance is,
they take them to the Harbor General.
yeah, they'll take you to Harbor General, Harbor UCLA.
That's one of the
And
number
after
one.
they stabilize people,
Yeah, that's one of the number.
forgive me, after they stabilize people, they're when their folks and everybody has been notified, then they can transfer them when they've been stabilized, if possible, to their respective hospital plan medical facilities. But everybody pretty much around here gets taken right off the bat to Harbor UCLA because of their superior trauma facilities. Okay. But it's always good for
Okay.
them to confirm it. This is just what they tell me on the street. Okay. Thank you.
Thanks.
You know,
Let's-
park rangers,
Park rangers, we want to know how many, even though we know this, how many park rangers? How many park rangers in total for LA City?
plural, go
Oops.
back.
See, and this one's gonna be harder because we haven't met with them yet. I mean, I know questions I have.
Yeah,
Right.
I
Joe,
think,
that's not
I
necessarily a
I don't
question
think,
that we would
I
ask.
don't think, yeah, what I would think to do right now, leave park rangers out.
Right. We're gonna have to wait and see.
Yeah, we gotta wait till I talk to them and
I
let's see
don't
what they
think
say.
LA Fire Department is going to have as many questions. I think their presence is just important, though. To
Mhm.
be
Yeah,
there.
we're just looking at what the LA Fire Department, it's basically gonna be LAPD, Parks and Rec, and then the park rangers. The fire department just, you know, they'll answer a couple. I mean, it's gonna be quite obvious. They don't have, it's not a matter of money or anything for them. It's just a matter of our procedures. When we get there, we assess what's happening. LAPD tells us we got 2 dead bodies here, we got 12 injured here, and that's what they do.
So LA Sheriff Department, one of the things I want to ask them is what their protocols are for enforcement of their parks. Right? Angela, wouldn't that be something to ask them?
Yeah, which parks fall under sheriff?
LA Sheriff is up on Westmont, the park up there, Eastmont Park is LA Sheriff. And they keep it
Okay.
gated all the time. And they have someone manning it and the whole 9 yards.
Okay, so we can talk to them and say, what are you doing right? How do we do this? How do we apply this to LA City?
Number one trauma centers. How do they determine what their vicinity, I mean, what their territory is?
The sheriff
Sheriff, it's
They can't
outlined
handle-
by
they
the
don't-
city.
Yeah,
or non-city
Outlined by the
for
city.
like Rancho Palos Verdes doesn't have a police department, so their Lomita Sheriff's Department covers RPV.
Yeah, and Lomita has her own sheriff. It's the places that are unincorporated. Like there's this place called La Ramba in San Pedro, and it curves around the hospital and it goes around down by Bandini, and that's called La Ramba. And that is unincorporated area of San Pedro. And so that's county, right? That little piece right there is county in San Pedro. It's the only spot in LA that is sheriff covered. Everything else is LAPD. And then you go up on Western, and everything on the side of Western that's Ralph's, Taxco, all of that, that all along there is
RPV.
No, it's San Pedro.
Oh, you're on the LA side, and then
San
across the
Pedro
street
is one
RPV.
side of Western.
Yeah.
RPV is the side that Jack in the Box is on, and Hillside Liquor, Marie Callender's, Trader Joe's, all along there. Well, when you get up to Westmont, what's really weird is Smart and Final, and that shopping center there is RPV. But you go across the street to Starbucks and Albertsons and all that, and that is San Pedro. And so are the apartments that are being, all the houses that are being built across from Green Hills. Those are San Pedro.
But they're like at the intersection of Lomita, San Pedro, Harbor City, and RPV.
Exactly. And so there's some like conflict of schools for them too, what schools they're gonna go to. It's weird. The boundaries are just so bizarre.
Yeah, so the sheriff covers the area that are not LA City.
That are not LA City and not incorporated, and they pay a big fee to have them cover them versus
Right.
LA City taxes covering LAPD. What is done different for enforcement at LA County parks?
You mean LA City?
Huh? For sheriff.
The sheriff would cover the, oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah. Sorry. I haven't had dinner yet.
For permits and what else? And
Just rule enforcement,
and enforcement.
but general enforcement, not just permit enforcement, but like if they chain up their gate at night. You know, how are they enforcing their rules at their park versus at LA City, where sometimes it just feels like a free for all?
There. How's that?
And honestly, you know, another question I would have asked Deanne today if I thought about it is, you know, outside of this shooting incident that happened, were these things concerning prior to now? Like, were these 500-person parties?
Okay, so that's a good question. Outside of, okay, outside of, so outside of what?
The incident,
The incident on July 24th?
yeah. Was there general concern about permitting enforcement, large parties with lack of security? I'm just kind of curious, like, how is this all? I don't know. I don't know quite how to word it. I don't like thinking out loud in public.
We should celebrate it because that's how, that's
A good
that's
idea.
what feeds the seeds of other good ideas to work with.
There you
Think
go. Thank
positive.
you.
Yeah, absolutely. People who live across the canyon from the parking lots where the car show,
Mhm.
quote, quote, they said that this has been going on for a long time.
Yeah,
And
that's what I
people
heard
they had
too.
interviewed, and they were very unhappy about it because they would get loud and they would shoot up fireworks and bonfires and,
Mhm.
you know, being
Oh,
crazy
I
in
know
the
what you
canyon. They're always afraid of being burned out because these people come to town and they're not from here, and they just start acting crazy because there's not a lot of enforcement, because I guess people don't complain to the right sources, so they would have coverage for that area. So it's a
Right.
little bit of both. So that's what I understood from a lot of the interviews that I saw from people who were asked laterally about what happened and did this affect your neighborhood as well. And that's when the
Mhm.
little details of what they knew came out, and who knew it was that prevalent and long
Hey, how's
lasting.
that one, Angela? Why are there not
Uh,
employees at all parks? And the ones that have them are not always there on weekends.
Mhm. So I'm going to take my psychology training and say, if you start a question with the why, you're going to provoke defensiveness.
Oh, okay, that's
So
true.
I would say something more like, explain the procedure for how you don't need to delete the whole question.
Explain, I'll rewrite it.
Exactly.
Explain the procedure.
For how resources are allocated in regard to security officers, enforcement.
Apparently I just got a notification from my phone that it's too hot. So I don't know. We're going to be ending pretty soon, right?
Your phone's too hot.
I've never had my phone tell me that before. I'm like, what?
It's because we're so exciting.
It's warning you so it doesn't shut off
I'm
on its
sitting in
own.
my car.
Yeah.
How's that
they'll-
sound, Angela?
Yeah, they'll let you know
Explain
so
the
it
procedure
doesn't
for
shut
how
off.
these resources allocated and are.
Yeah, that's good.
resources Are, oh, hello, get rid of the S. Are allocated in regards to security officers, enforcement, and employees at park.
Look good. And again, this is not getting printed today. Like, this is going to
Right.
evolve over time as we get more
Right,
information
right.
in our meetings. Yeah, I think it looks good. I think that's a good working document that we can
Right, and
revise and build on.
what I wanted to get started on
Yeah.
tonight, was a good working document,
Mhm.
because now that we're moved to the 27th of October for the town hall, we have more time to be able to perfect this document, as well as, granted, we're gonna have to get this sent to them a couple weeks at least before
Sure.
town hall, to have them get their act together for the
Mhm.
town hall.
But that still gives us weeks.
But we at least have time that even if we needed to in October add another meeting, we could.
Mhm.
So, I think we're doing good here.
I think so too.
So, yeah, let's see, file, I gotta save this because I don't want to lose it. Save as, and then ad hoc. Where's, there we go, there's my working folder. Panel questions. There we go, there's that. New folder. There, that way we're saved. That way I don't end up losing my document.
Okay, good.
Yeah. So I think we're good. What we need to do is probably next meeting come back to this when more people are present, when
For
Chris
sure.
and Dan, so Dan, they can input on this too and add stuff. And I'm hoping after we meet with park rangers and have our meeting with LAPD, we might come up with more.
Absolutely.
So,
Yep.
let me close this and then come back with our document back here. Okay, so really, we talked about this already, the after action plan. Basically, what that's going to do is we're going to collaborate with basically a list of things that we'd like from them at the end of the town hall, our recommendations. And that we'd like to hear back on whether, from them in the next 90 days, whether or not they can, and we'll follow up with them. But anyway, so that being said, I think we're pretty much done, other than if there's any public comment at all on non-agenda items
You need food.
at all. Celia?
Oh, thank you. One more thing would like to mention is, you know, we have the quad patrol officers who patrol between Cabrillo Beach and Royal Palms.
Right.
I understood that some time ago now that before we would get them from Thursday to Sunday, and for special events Monday as well. And then I found out not so long ago we actually have them 7 days a week. And that has got, on top of that, adding to Cabrillo Beach becoming an all pay all the time location. So
Aren't those LAPD though?
yes, they are.
Yes, so I'm not sure. See, that's the thing that kind of is confusing and troubling. They've got people to man that gate, you know, to collect money, even if you're just dropping somebody off. But then they have all kinds of people down at Cabrillo Beach, but they have nobody to monitor Peck Park.
You know what? It's a private company that manages it. We've had this conversation at coastal meetings. People outraged because and I've done research several years ago, and we put it forth to why handicapped people have to pay. And because they're just merciless about it. Nobody gets a break. Everybody pays. So
yeah, because I was dropping my brother off down there for an event at the Boy Scout thing, and they were doing it at the beach. So I pulled in, and it's like I had to pay $1 just to go in.
That's right. That's what it is. And it's a private company. We've gone round and round with them for several years, trying to make sense of why they won't put in more porta potties, and they refuse. Why they charge for the handicap, why, and then people angry. Well, they're saying I have a membership to the Cabrillo Aquarium, but the Cabrillo Aquarium website clearly lists what kind of membership you have to be able to park in there for free. There's a threshold, and so if you're like at the bare bottom, maybe once, but you know, of course, as that escalates, you could get a whole year. But again, you have to be a big whale. And so we're trying to, and then nobody's allowed to go to their meetings. They don't have public meetings. I went to one with Jennifer Marquez once, and she didn't tell me before we weren't allowed to talk. So there I am, just like here, little miss paying attention, ready to join in and participate. And she looks at me, she's like, we can't talk. And I'm like, I'm sorry, I didn't mean that. And we got answers, but I'm like, why are people not allowed to talk? I had no idea that these were private meetings that the public is not allowed to have any input in, because that would make a huge difference. No, I'm serious. And Jennifer hasn't been invited back to my knowledge, but I don't know if maybe she's just telling me this so I don't try to go along, because she wanted someone to back her up so she wasn't overwhelmed. And I didn't know we couldn't talk because it wasn't specifically mentioned. And I'm not oblivious deliberately. I just really hoped I didn't blow it for her, so to speak. So yeah, they have a private company that administers that lot, and what they say is the law, and what us as the people don't like about it is pretty much too bad, and they'll take our comments under advisement. Boom, and that's where it ends. And so yeah, I'm serious. This has come up in all the local meetings, community wise, you understand. Of course, everybody's welcome to come with their own input. Everybody should come from all the other councils, I think, because that's how we learn. That's how we get better. And in this case, since the beach serves the populace, not just us, but people out to Palmdale, Riverside, and you know, they come and cruise the neighborhood. So now that the parking lot is all pay all the time, and I think it's maybe $10 for the day, which is nothing in the real world. People don't want to pay it, and they've now taken up the entire neighborhood to park and take their gear down. So it's created another problem. But again, that's not the Cabrillo Beach Management's fault. That's just how it is now. So yes, I agree. Everybody agrees that $1 to go in and come out is absurd. They won't accept cash. And our next board meeting is this coming Monday. So if somebody from Northwest, you have a delegate who would like to show up and take notes and ask questions, of course, they're welcome to come. And they're always treated with great respect and reverence, which is one thing I have to say about the wonderful people who managed the meeting. So again, thank you for letting me speak. And yes, that's the reason that our crime is actually a lot lower, is because we actually now have the quad patrol 7 days a week, but we begged and
good.
pleaded. We helped to fund a quad and outfit it. So that helped. But of course, you never know from year to year if we're going to get to keep it. So thank you again for letting me participate. I appreciate it.
Alrighty, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. So we are adjourned until the 19th. And hopefully, hopefully Chris and Dan said he would be there, but on the 19th, but just that he had work tonight that he was going to be doing. And then,
Stop
Chris,
the recording.
I'll talk to him that we need him to come.
And the
So,
19th was our deadline for having our meetings done, yeah?
the 19th was, but I think now it's going to be like the 29th because
The meetings later.
just because trying to get meetings in has been
Okay.
difficult to get.
Okay, then let me get with Joe and I'll try to touch base with you both on available times so that I can set up one meeting that we can all go to so we don't make him duplicate his efforts.
Okay.
But I think I mentioned at the beginning, right? Did I think it or say it out loud? That he's gonna be away Friday. He said he's working through Thursday. He'll be away for a few days after that. And I still
Okay.
need to write him back.
Yeah, because like I told Melanie, every other Friday, they usually have it off.
Right.
Okay.
Thank
Oh,
you.
but that's what it was. I couldn't find the email where he was telling me what he had Thursday afternoon, and I'm thinking I need to check my trash folder because I must have deleted it accidentally.
Just let me know.
Okay, we'll do.
Good. Alrighty. Well, thank you guys. And thank
Okay.
you for all
Hey,
your.
stop,
night.
Mel, stop, first, stop the recording.
Okay, and I'm going to stop the recording.
What happens if you don't stop the recording?